Welcome to part 4 of these flip production videos, and in this one we're looking at the impact of market structure. So in the previous video we looked at all the cost structure in the long run, how output increases and affect costs. So we now need to look at how that might well affect the market structure. So we're going to start off actually is with the nature of the curve that you're going to see. So in some textbooks you might see a perfect U-shaped long run average total cost curve, and that's not very realistic, but let's start off by looking at that anyway. So what we have here is, I've drawn in the little blue short run average total cost curve, very scruffily there, but you'll understand what that's about from the previous video. Naturally you could just draw those long run average total cost curves all the way around like that to show how it works, but probably in the exam what you do is just do a couple of them and then short run 1, short run 2, and then you don't need to draw them all the way around. Okay, so let's get on with this. So you've got your increasing returns to scale, economies of scale, and then your decreasing returns to scale, diseconomies of scale. But what I haven't got in this one is any constant returns to scale. What I've got here is just one single point, one single output point, and I've called that 5 million units, so an output 5 million, which reaches your lowest average cost, which I've decided is £1. So that's your long run productive efficiency point, okay? And it's also your MES point, because there's only one output that you can reach in order to reach the lowest average cost. So that is the smallest output you can have to reach an average cost of £1. So there's your MES and your long run productive efficiency point at the same point there, okay? And that's the point at which you try to get to as a firm. What that would mean for the market, to be an efficient firm and to be competitive firms would all probably be roughly the same size of 5 million units, okay? They're all thereabouts. You might be able to be a bit smaller or a bit bigger and suffer slightly higher average costs, but that might mean you get competed out of the market if it's a competitive market, or it might mean, i.e. because you can't price compete, or it might mean your prices are so high because you're too small or too large, you've got a higher average cost, that it's not simply a price that's not affordable for customers, and therefore you'd be missing from the market. And remember, if no firm could reach that, then maybe it might be a missing market altogether, because firms could only be 1 million in size. You'd be all the way up there, okay? So 1 million unit or 1,000 units, let's say, output. You'd be all the way up there. Average cost might be £10 per unit, and that would simply not be what people would be willing or able to pay, and therefore be a missing market. But that's a classic look. Then you could draw it a bit like this. You could draw this curve any way you like, really. You've got very quick economies of scale. You reach your economy scale, quite a low output, but then this economy scale here starts to grow kind of slowly. So what's happening here is you've got the cost advantages of increasing its output as the average total cost comes down, and that slowly becomes outweighed by the cost disadvantages of increasing output as we come into diseconomies of scale. So all I'm doing here is just demonstrating that these long run average total cost curves could come in different shapes. Now, what I would do for the exam is perhaps do this panhandle shape we've got here with a flat bottom in order to demonstrate constant returns to scale. So I've got my little example short run curves there, that's fine. Now with constant returns to scale, as you know from the previous video, it doesn't matter whether your output is 1 million units, 10 million units, or somewhere in between those output levels. Because of constant returns to scale, the size of any firm is just as efficient. So I could be 1 million in size, 10 million in size, 5 million in size, to 8 million in size of output, but I'd be just as efficient as my competitors. Okay? So I'd be able to survive in the market, and that costs might be those low costs would allow me to be price competitive to survive, and I would also be able to offer a price that people would be willing and able to pay. So you might see in that kind of market firms of multiple sizes. Okay? So where here all firms are going to be roughly one size, here firms will be multiple sizes. Now the other important thing to get from this is the MES point. So we've got the minimum efficiency scale, MES, at 1 million units. Now this might mean that the market's very concentrated, because if that output point is high relative to the overall size of the market, then you might need to have a few firms in the market. So let's say the market size is 2 million. So you've got 2 million customers out there, and each customer you will have 1 unit. Let's say I'm totally oversimplifying here, but that might mean that if the MES point is 1 million, then you might have 2 firms who could operate in that market at the minimum efficiency scale of £1. Okay. and be productively efficient. So you can only have 2 productively efficient firms fitted into that market of only 2 million potential units. So you'd have a duopoly, a very concentrated market with all the advantages and disadvantages that may come from that. You'll learn later. So that means, they don't have to be exactly 1 million in size, but roughly, because they're probably roughly around that efficiency point. Now, you might say, well, why can't we have less efficient firms in that market? Okay, so let's say the market size, like we said, is 2 million units, and we're going to make that market up with lots and lots and lots and lots of small firms, all with a small market share adding up to 2 million units. Well, if you did that, okay, and each firm only had 1,000 units each, so one firm with 1,000 units would mean that that firm with 1,000 units might have an average cost up here of, say, £10, which means their prices would be higher, okay, so customers may have to pay higher prices, or it might be so high that customers not willing or able to pay that, so it becomes a missing market. So it's likely that small firms will be driven out of the market because they can't compete, people won't pay that price. So the only possible firms that could exist are firms that are of at least 1 million in size, okay, who can reach that £1, that price competitive average cost, because you have to have low cost to offer low prices, and therefore at the market size of 2 million, you can have 2 firms of 1 million. Okay. So that's very important. If this MES point was much lower relative to the market size, so we had a bigger market and a lower MES, so say a potential market 10 million customers and an MES point of only 1,000, you could have lots and lots and lots and lots of firms that could reach that MES of 1,000, therefore have a low average cost of £1, be price competitive with each other, and maintain their presence in the market, and therefore it'd be a more competitive market. So low MES relative to the market size, you're going to have a concentrated, uncompetitive market. Okay? Did I say low MES? Sorry. High MES, so a high MES relative to the market size, you're going to have a concentrated, uncompetitive market. If you have a low MES, let's say 1,000 units or something lower, relative to a larger market size, you can fit in a lot more firms and have a lot more competitive market. End part.